Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Shane Beamer, the South Carolina Gamecocks land a massive commitment in the 2025 class, coming from four-star wide receiver Lex Cyrus from the state of Pennsylvania. And what stands out, it doesn't take me long to sell the South Carolina fans on Lex Cyrus. This is a kid that runs a 10-4 in the 100-meter dash, one of the fastest prospects we'll see in the 2025 cycle. And just to kind of compare that to Nick Harbor, coming out of high school, Nick Harbor ran a 10.29. Lex Cyrus is only a tenth of a second slower in the 100-meter dash. That gives you a feel for just how much Lex Cyrus can cook. And I think the important thing when you're talking about Lex Cyrus is this is not a track and field kid that we're putting on a football field. This is a football player that has track and field times. And what I mean by that is Lex Cyrus is not just a kid that runs really fast in a straight line. There is some nuance to his game at the wide receiver spot. One, he operates with the football in his hand exceptionally well. He can create some nice separation as well. This is not a guy that just has linear speed. He has some short area quicks to his game, but that speed that he has gives him that really high ceiling for this South Carolina offense. This is a South Carolina offense that has some serious speed on the offensive side of the football, fired up to get into the film. And talk about what Lex Cyrus brings to this South Carolina program. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys. Many of y'all know talking the recruiting aspect of college football, one of my favorite things to do. I can't thank you guys enough for rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into Lex Cyrus. And again, I think when you're talking Lex Cyrus, you really do start out with the long speed that he has. And that stuff translates to the college football field. If you are the fastest player on the football field, defenses need to respect that kind of speed. Lex Cyrus has that ability. But again, when we dive into the film, there are some other aspects of his game that really stand out to me and kind of make me higher on him than just that 10-4 in the 100-meter dash. Create separation. He operates with the football in his hands. You really get into the film, and there's just a lot of different ways that he can get involved in an offense besides just being a super fast player. One, I mean, within the football in the hands, really dynamic athlete. And he's one of these guys that we're going to full screen for this for you guys. If you're a safety, like, you got to take a good angle. And if you don't, he's going to run right by you. And so he's a guy that if you can get him in some end arounds, some swing passes, some screens, he's a guy that can kind of change a game in terms of what he can do with the football in his hand. And again, you go back to this one, we're going to create some separation, be a quarterback-friendly wide receiver, and then when we do have the football in our hands, we're making people miss. Again, bad angles by the safeties, going to run right by you. That game-changing speed, the ability to make a play with the football that can win you football games Saturday nights, that's what you love most. And again, end-around screens, just get this kid the football. You see the short area quickness. You see the contact bounce. Got a little bit built like a running back, right? 5'10", thick lower half, only 170 pounds, going to put on some weight. This kid with the football in his hands is just a little bit different. And you can really understand why Shane Beamer wants to bet on the upside that a kid like Lex Cyrus has. Again, creating separation after the catch. Again, poor angles by the safeties and cornerbacks. He is gone. And you can kind of, when you watch this one back, like, you can kind of get a sense of that 10-4 speed. This kid absolutely rolls. He's going to be a difference maker for this South Carolina offense. And you continue to work through the film, there's some other things that you really like, right? Playing the boundary wide receiver spot, that's something worth noting. I think he can do a lot. I think you can put him as a boundary wide receiver. I think you can put him as a slot wide receiver. Heck, I think you can line him up in the backfield at certain times and just get him involved in different ways. You fire up this clip. One, let's go make a play with the football in the air, right? We are not necessarily the biggest wide receiver at 5'10", 175 pounds. You see the body control. You see the ability to track the football in the air. Those are things that for some of these track and field kids, you don't really see. For Lex Cyrus, you see, I love this rep too, where you see, again, he's a really, really fast kid in terms of running a 100-meter dash, right? Long speed, running in a straight line. Lex Cyrus is really, really dang good at it. Now, what I love about Lex Cyrus, the ability to create separation. You want to operate in man coverage in the red zone. I mean, let him get in and out. A really, really short area quick, separates with ease on the defensive back. That type of rep where he's creating separation, controlling his speeds, that's what you love the most about Lex Cyrus. He's not only a guy that can run right by defensive backs, can be a game changer with the football in his hands. He's a guy that can separate, You see the short area quickness on full display once again. When he's in the open ground, I mean, you can tell that he's going at a little bit of a different speed than a lot of guys that are trying to cover him. And you go to South Carolina's class in 2025, and it's been, I guess you'd say, relatively quiet on the recruiting trail. They haven't had that headliner like Dylan Stewart or a guy like Nick Harbor. I think this year for Shane Beamer in 2024 is massive on the football field. These are finally his guys, the guys that he's recruited at the high school ranks. And if South Carolina comes out, wins a lot of football games in the SEC, and Shane Beamer can start selling, hey, these are the guys that we plucked from the high school ranks. We got them developed and we're competing at a high level in the SEC. That is kind of how I see Shane Beamer selling this program moving forward. You're going to see them finish with a solid class in 2025. What we see on the football field for South Carolina in the 2025 or the 2024 season, that's really going to dictate, I think, how South Carolina recruits over the next couple of cycles. Now, you start scrolling down, there's some guys that we feel really good about, right? We broke down Brian Rowe, kind of a dynamic playmaker from North Carolina. You start scrolling down, Shane Beamer's getting his guys. I think there are still some top targets that Shane Beamer is going to be going after. We'll see if they can close on those guys throughout the late summer months and into the fall. I think they got a guy in Lex Cyrus, a guy that can win you a lot of football games with his game-changing ability. Really fired up about this one. Fired up to see how they use Lex Cyrus because, again, so many different ways you can get this kid to football and let him impact the game. We'll cut it there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. Again, if y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later.